What's up, guys? Mike here from Ekim Knives, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about folders. As you guys know, I've been working on this for a while now, and I've been really slacking on the updates. Part of it is because I want to figure this out and then bring it to the table and show you, okay guys, this is what I figured out, this is what I did, this is how I did it, and this is how you can do it. But the problem with that is, making folders is a lot harder than it looks, right? And I'm a picky guy, so I've made some folders that work, but I'm not ready to release them yet. I will not let them leave my shop excuse me, with some of the issues that I see. Some minor stuff, and I've seen some customs out there that have these issues, and nothing against them, but I want to make the best knife I possibly can. That's my goal here. So I came to the realization that you guys are missing out on a lot of content. You're missing out on a lot of video of me figuring this out, going through the troubleshooting process, and that's a huge part of knife making. So I think I'm going to start a series where I'll just bring you guys along with me in the shop, and I'll be tinkering and figuring it out along the way, and just bring you along for the ride, really. This way you could watch me struggle. You could see what it's really like to figure this out. Now, I've done a ton of work already before the camera was rolling. Obviously, this is my very first prototype. I don't even know where the blade went. Very first prototype. As you can see, this is the pieces of it. It was originally G10 and titanium, and of course it got nowhere near where I wanted it to be. But this was done, I want to say, about 7 months ago. Fail number one. Right? We have a bunch of stuff laid out here on the table. Oh, here was another one. Another titanium scale. This one got as far as getting blasted. I even drew on it with marker to figure out the geometry and where I went wrong. As you can see inside, see that galling right there on the lock face? It was causing the lockup to shift over to 80% from a 10% lockup, which of course means there's zero life in it, and that's no good. It worked, it functioned, but it was sticky, and even with carbidizing it, I know you guys had suggested it, but these are all carbidized. The geometry was just wrong, and again, not going to leave my shop. Right? So I decided to do something a little more, a little different, right? Something that I know I can make work. And so I made this guy. This is the hidden stop pin. You see the stop pin kind of coming out of that window there. Right? And it works. Right? But this has issues as well, because I'm not using a CNC machine yet. And one of these days I will get one, but because I'm not using a machine and I'm doing it all by hand in a manual mill, to mill out these tracks inside, as you can see, this is a failed attempt, but that's what I do to get the stop pin to ride on those tracks. They have to be perfect to each other, or it changes the lockup, it changes the stop location, or it'll cause the stop pin to drag in the blade. So when it's kind of pivoting it around, it'll drag along the tracks because the tolerances are really tight. I did not leave myself a lot of room. And I found myself spending hours and hours fixturing and fiddling with setups and jigs and stuff on the milling machine, and it was just too much. Each knife was taking me forever. It's a shame too, because I really like how the grind came out on this one. Nice satin grind on the agitated. Well, this was the Diablo. Right? This blade is going to come back, by the way. I really like this blade shape. You see what I mean? It failed to fire there because it's the stop pin is dragging a little bit in here. It's a little crunchy. Right? See, that's not the detent. The track's just a little bit off. So I need to figure it out. But failure number, I don't know, a lot. Failure number 5 or 6. I got lucky once, and that's the one I carry around. It's inside right now. So, okay, back to square one. Let's do another redesign. And this time, I decided to go with something a little easier. And I've done this a few times. So go back to the Diablo, which had the stop pin stops here and here, and then the lock faces in the middle. But I was getting bit in the behind with the bad geometry again. So I make this one. Right, I try to improve the geometry. As you can see, this was functioning at one point, and I was getting a ton of lock stick. Same geometry problem. It's galling the titanium because this corner right here, that corner was digging into the middle of the lock face. And again, this was carbonized, and it still did not help. It goes right through the carbonization and creates a sticky lock, and no way I'm selling that. So I decide, again, without a CNC machine, to try, well, how can I fix this? What solution do I have? So I made a steel lock bar insert. I never finished it. It's pretty much done. But it's a lot of fiddly work and filing and everything, and I'd have to recess the screws, and I did not leave myself enough room to do that. So I'd have to make it all over again. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this would have been great on a machine that can cut this out in a few minutes, but this took hours to make that tiny little insert. So the blade's not going in the garbage yet. I might finish it up just to see what it's like, a steel insert versus a carbonized lock face in terms of strength and reliability on the same blade, same geometry. You get it? So fast forward again, and now I'm on. So at this point, I've tried just about every design out there in terms of stop pins and tracks and lock faces and geometries. So now I'm at this one, which I've just cut out a bunch of blanks for. So this is the stage in the game I'm at. So you got the lock up. Obviously this is not finished. The blade needs to be heat treated. Or this is the one that heat treated softly. I think it needs to be heat treated. That's what it is. So there's the stop. There's the closed. This one happens to have a standoff instead of a backspacer, but I left myself the option to do either or. Right? There's no lockup or anything yet. All that stuff has to get done. There's a little rabbit running across the backyard. My ADD just went bananas 2 seconds ago. So here is the design for it. So as you can see, it's this type of stop pin track. And here's another blade. This one, I forget what happened with. Oh, the track was off. It's still difficult to mill the track manually and get it accurate, but I figured out a solution to make it repeatable and to make this as accurate as possible. And it has a lot to do with this 0.3175. That is the magic number for me. So to give you an idea, it's a 1/8 stop pin and a 9/64 track, right? So 1/8 is 0.125. 9/64 is 0.140. So I have, what is that? 15,000, so I have 7 thousandths of an inch on either side of the track for that pin to travel in the track and not get hung up on something. I don't want to make it much bigger because then I'm going to have issues with the detemp ball. Everything is a give and take relationship on these knives that I found out the hard way. So it really has to be within a couple thousandths of an inch or it's not going to work. So I went through and I cut out a dozen blades or so like this, surface ground them, did the tracks and everything, and I left myself a little bit of room if I have to get in there with a file, a Dremel, or something to open it up. And mind you, I'm doing this by hand. It's just me in here, no water jet, no CNC yet. But the design has to work first. It would make absolutely no sense for me to call the water jet guy and say, yeah, can you cut me out 40 of these? When I don't know if it's gonna work. You get it? So the prototyping, it takes forever. It's a long journey, and you know what? You guys are missing a lot of it. So here we are. This is going to be the start. This is episode number 1 of making a folder in the Ekim Knives shop. With me, Mike. So that's it for this one, guys. It's just a little bit of design and what I've gone through so far to get to this point. So now, I'm going to send out those blades for heat treat, and it's, like I said, about a dozen blades like this. And we're going to pick it up right from there. Alright? This is Mike here from Ekim Knives, and I'll catch you on the next video.